and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 117, Under the Sheet Tonight, recorded on Friday, October 23rd, 2020 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
All right, we're going to start off with Zoho People has introduced an office readiness component to People. It's kind of interesting. It basically is three forms, work premises, work from office, and visitor at office, that people can fill out, and basically are they okay for COVID, and it has all the various questions that need to be asked before anybody can really participate in working with you. But a nice feature. I think we talked about this on another show. I'm not sure. I think they rolled this out a while ago, but now the official rollout is here, if you would.
Yeah, kind of similar to what they were doing with that creator app that they built out for kind of tracking inflows and outflows of people, all the different forms. Seems like some of that same tracking over in People.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was a creator application that they built to do that. Very good. Yes, I knew I'd seen something similar to this.
Yeah, it looks like they took some of those ideas and went ahead and implemented them over in People as well. This is an app that we've actually been working with a little bit more recently. One of our team members, Raquel, went ahead and kind of got fully certified here to drive these People implementations. And I have to say, there's a lot of cool stuff under the hood. You know, it's easy to get lost in Zoho People because it just does so much. There's so many forms, so many modules, but super, super powerful application.
Yeah, good stuff all the way around. And now we'll move on to our next story, which has us a bit confused here. But basically, if you're in CRM or some other applications, you can do a mail merge, and it's a very powerful tool. We actually use it all the time for various things. We have it for all of our customers. Well, we're not certain if there was a limit or if there is a limit, but evidently there is and was potentially a limit of no more than 1,000 merges a month. And so Zoho basically put out a post 3 days ago that said, hey, there's 1,000, but guess what? Some of you want more, so we'll let you do up to an additional 4,000 for 5 cents a piece per merge, if you want to do that. And that you get your 1,000 free with any paid plan, whether that's WorkDrive, Workplace, Zoho One, CRM Forms, etc. And free plans get 200 merges a month. So that was well and good, and that story was in here. And then over on Partner Connect, another story blew up, and this is from 2 days, 1 day ago. A post came out that said you only get 500 if you're on Professional and Enterprise, and only 1,000 if you're on Ultimate, and very few if anybody's on Ultimate. And then it's got the same pricing. But I don't think we were aware of this limit before, Tyler, and I'm not sure that it really did exist. But now that it does, I don't know, we'll have a lot of people bump up against it, but I can see that some people would bump up against this.
Yeah, and so I mean, one of the biggest use cases that we find for using mail merge would be, you know, out of your CRM, you're going to be sending quotes or sending proposals, and you know, for quotes, you can use a CRM kind of quote template, which is separate, or you could actually run a mail merge to kind of create a nicer designed template with a little bit more customization. And so that's oftentimes what we do. And so those both would be dipping into this, you know, 500 merges per month limit. You know, so it's kind of a new thing. You know, we would expect, I guess it's a little surprising that it's based on an organization, not based on the number of users. So it's not like you get 100 merges per month per user. It's 500 for the entire organization. So if you're a 3-person team or a 100-person team, you get the same baseline of 500. I will say that the pricing that they have here for document merges is definitely less than kind of the standard competition. You know, FormStack will be somewhere around 10 cents a merge. So they are coming in below a lot of those other delivery options. But, you know, if you are working with that type of pricing, you know, you might see some people want to change over and just go ahead and use one of those enterprise ready options like FormStack that just has a little bit more power under the hood. You know, and it comes into like logical formatting or including or removing of sections based on some field parameters. Some of the delivery options with FormStack, like sending a fax or integrating directly to a physical mailing company, right? There's some there's definitely some special sauce with some of these other services. So it'll be interesting to see, for the power users who are now going to have to pay an extra charge per merge, if anyone will be incentivized to look at some other tools, now that they have to pay for this.
Well, I think if you're a true enterprise client, you can only buy up to 4,000 more. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're just on regular CRM, you're probably going to have 4,500, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, boy, if you had a couple hundred people, then, or 400 or 500 people, and there's a lot of merging, you've got a sales team that's active, maybe all your contracts are done that way, your disclaimer forms. I mean, there's a lot of things we've done using this feature, goes
Yep.
on and on and on, intake forms, outcome forms, all of those kind of things. A person does something in CRM and you push a button and it generates a form. We did one the other day for a studio that does fat freezing consultations, and after the consultation they push a button and it generates the quote for them. There are all these kind of things. So
Mm-hmm.
if you actually are going to limit it at that, you're going to have to move to form stack documents, because at least you won't have the limit anymore. And there is a lot of power there as well. Drop it into, it's funny, it actually does more than web
Mail
merge
merge
does,
integration.
than mail merge. I mean, with form stack
is.
documents, you can actually have it attach the document to the record in Zoho CRM, as well as put it in WorkDrive, as well as put it in Google Drive, as well as email, and all at the same time. So there's a lot there. But
Yeah, it is. I was thinking about that as I was reading through this, that it kind of highlights that FormStack's integration with Zoho CRM is better than Zoho Writers in a lot of ways for doing that, where it's faster, where you just click one button, right? And it does all
right.
this for you. It can attach to the record dynamically. It can queue it up for signature the same way. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. I will highlight they did include some usage statistics, and I think the number of people that are going to be over 500 per month is relatively low. Kind of a handful of percent of people, but I do know that Zoho is trying to make more of their applications kind of enterprise ready for larger customers, and I think this might be a step away from that almost, because it's really going to be a charge that those larger people are going to be incurring, or larger companies.
We will see. I agree. All right, let's move on with the Zoho news here. So Zoho Cliq got a whole bunch of updates this month. It's kind of their September 2020 roundup. I think we covered some of these, but I'm not quite sure if we did. But widgets you can now drop into your Cliq windows. Document collaboration, we definitely talked about this one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Collaborating directly inside of Zoho Cliq. I don't know if we covered this last one though, which is telephony integration.
Yeah, I think this one snuck through. I think we caught some of the other ones, but this one may have slipped through.
Yeah, so if there's a phone number, someone clicks you a number and says, hey, call so-and-so at this number, it's now got the full telephony integration. You can just go ahead and click on the phone number and dial it out. And I'm assuming if it's part of CRM, it's going to log it and do everything else. Also, incoming calls, when you are in Cliq, it's going to go look in the CRM, find the person, tell you who's calling, those kind of things. So pretty good stuff. Anything else that stood out here? I know there was something around webhooks.
Yeah, they kind of made it a little bit easier to integrate outside apps and trigger webhooks. They kind of created a little webhook builder. I will say you could already do that in Deluge and Cliq, but they've made a little UI similar to how in the CRM you can create a webhook without having to code it in. So nice, kind of easier to deploy. We generally still like to do them in Deluge. They fire off a little faster and easier, but I just love all the things they're doing with Cliq. I think the widgets are just so cool. They just recently made those available, so that we're still kind of in the early stages of those being rolled out. But yep. I think it's one of the powerful things with Cliq being that kind of central hub, right? Where the more you can do in there, the less different pages or browsers you have to go to, right? And I remember it was a while back now at their developer conference in 2019, they were really talking about Cliq as that command line was, kind of how they referred to it, where, in there using slash commands, using widgets now, you should be able to access things all throughout the system and, communicate and collaborate on them. So as always, we say it every time, but Cliq is just a powerhouse for us, and definitely one that's worth rolling out.
Yeah, and we've said it before, but the Slack migration is pretty seamless. It's a beautiful migration, actually. It recreates all of your channels, your members, all that kind of stuff. So if you're using Slack and you're a Zoho One user, or even if not, take a look at Cliq, because it's kind of worth taking a look at.
Alrighty, and here for our next story, we're looking at some updates coming out from the Zoho creator team, basically charting out some of their upcoming updates for October and November. So kind of a handful of updates here. They're allowing encryption for IP addresses. So, if people are able to log in and use the application, and, if you've deployed your creator app on mobile, you can now encrypt that data as it's being passed through. So that you're able to kind of log where people are logging in from, but still have, your full data security on the location of any of your users. They're also allowing some additional permissions for printing and exporting, kind of just the ability to control this a little bit better, right? Kind of seeing who can export what, who's able to pull certain fields into their documents or into their templates. It's kind of just some admin settings there. It's some kind of additional ones here. They've enabled some additional options for sizing out text and icons in your different pages and dashboards. You're able to connect out to different panels and run some additional Deluge integration tasks. You're able to now pull in an application's date and time formats a little bit more easily into email attachments, right? So if you have a specific way that you want date and time to be formatted, it's not gonna, give you a default format when you have attachments now. It's actually gonna pull those in dynamically based on your organization settings. So kind of just a lot of quick updates, kind of light fixes, a couple things around permissions, nothing too crazy, but overall some good updates there for Zoho Creator.
Yeah, some good stuff. They continue to build it out. And the creative group's interesting in that they always say, here's what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of plan for it rather
than
here it is. So rather than it just appearing in the application, they would say, hey, by the way, guys, here's what we're going to do. And they actually give you time frames. And
yep, which is kind of nice. You can plan,
stuff. I mean,
if this is stuff you want to implement, you'll know about when it's coming out, so you can be ready to roll it out for yourself.
Yeah, I always appreciate that about them. All right, and then Zia is now part of People. Pretty simple integration here. I'm not sure. I guess you can talk to Zia and say, hey, I'm going on vacation, or I'm heading out and I'm leaving here, and this is the dates and this is what it is and here's why. And it will automatically take care of the rest. I haven't played with it yet. We're going to have to talk to Raquel about that. Maybe there's much more to that than meets the eye, but yeah, you can say, hey, what are the upcoming holidays, and have it just generate reports. So a lot of things you can use Zia for in CRM or whatever, fetch reports, how much revenue I've got, things that would relate to Zoho People. You can kind of do that as well.
I think this is kind of a nice one because you may have a lot of people using Zoho People that don't spend a lot of time working in it. They might just see their shifts in there and clock in and clock out. So, they're not going to be super familiar with all the different forms and where to go to submit this or that. So I could see some value here for, basically if I wanted to know what's our upcoming holidays, right? I could just ask Zia, she pulls that up, right? Or I could just say, submit a time off request for this Friday, right? And if it could kind of handle the rest, I think there's some cool stuff that could be done there for just streamlining it, especially for the kind of users of the app who might not know where to find all the different forms.
Yeah, I think Zia's really got a lot of potential and it's great. I have not used it in a long time because I was finding it was kind of a little more, it was like Siri, I really don't use Siri because 50% of the time when I ask it to do something is just not doing what it needs to do.
It says, here's what I found on Google for that.
If it does that, or it says, I don't know what you're talking about, whereas Google knows what you're talking about magically and I don't know what it is. So, Zia's been getting better and better. And anyway, now it's part of People. And then the Bigin team just keeps on rolling. So they've got some updates here. You've got MailChimp integration, which is kind of nice. I guess it's kind of to that next thing where more and more of these integrations keep coming in. You can also turn on call recording. So they've had telephony integration for a while, but on incoming calls, you can set your message and then go ahead and make sure that the call's recorded. And then you've got just some nice little Android and iOS updates that they've included in it as well. But the team really keeps making a lot of improvements to the application. And we talked about it a lot on the last show.
Yeah, it's a cool one. I mean, it's interesting to do a Mailchimp integration from Bigin. I would imagine you'd probably have that in your primary CRM and then integrate to Mailchimp from there. I guess it would be nice, if you're rolling with just Bigin to be able to do that. But I'd see a bigger use case, and the integration's already there where you plug Mailchimp into the CRM itself. I do like the call recordings. That's super nice for any type of sales tool like this, being able to actually record them into the system, setting up your little menu to basically say, you're out of office, you're busy, you're unavailable, and then record it if it does pass through. So definitely nice functionality there.
And they added this to CRM a while back on the call recording. I'm waiting, there was rumor of a Zoho telephony option, that they were actually going to become their own telephony provider. I was assuming it was going to be based on a Twilio backbone, but still haven't kind of seen that yet. But we're seeing kind of the underpinnings of that start to slip in, little things like IVR and call trees and those kind of things. So I have a feeling we're getting close to that. All righty, and then this one, Tyler, you pointed it out to me today. It's kind of our last little bit of news, but I don't know if this is new or not, but Zoho is now allowing you to schedule an annual Zoho account checkup. And if you kind of scroll down on this page, if you're watching on the video, they are, what is a Zoho account health checkup? That sounds familiar. We've got our health checks. I actually tried to schedule this. You can't, it is not something where you're just scheduling it. You actually have to fill out a form. And you fill out that form and you send it in, and then they're going to go ahead and send you a link. And you can, I'm imagine they're going to say, hey, we'd like to do this. It's kind of interesting though. So they're going to look at your account, see if there have been any updates to your organization. If you're using third-party software, they're going to talk about workplace readiness, which sounds like what we just talked about, right? Is all of those things done. Going to take a look at your existing integrations and other software, and just, I'm not sure. So it's not really what I would consider to kind of be a health check. It just seems to be more of maybe an upsell, or I'm not quite sure what they're doing here, but we're going to get one because I requested a health check.
Yes, they'll be reporting in. We've definitely, with some of their other professional services that they've offered, to clients that we've had, or that clients that we've picked up after Zoho has kind of engaged with them, it seems like it can be a little bit of a mixed bag. With this one, I think it's interesting. It might be a good opportunity for Zoho to do a little bit of customer development and see how people are using the system. So I think this could be really cool on Zoho's end as kind of a learning exercise. They might identify certain things that a lot of people are doing as a workaround, or certain apps that a lot of people have built integrations for that they might want to build one themselves. But yeah, definitely interesting. Expect us to follow up on this one once we can get our account checkup set up, because I'm very interested to see exactly what goes on in this.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be it could be a fairly cool service. So if anyone actually out there is listening, has had one of these, let us know as well. Drop us a line at info@zenatta.com. We'd love to see what it's all about. Anyway, good stuff, Zoho. And now we'll move on to our mobile app news. Just a couple of quick things here. I think we've covered this over and over ad nauseum, but Zoho Sign now gets the full iOS and iPad OS treatment with clips, widgets, and Scribble. It's got some nice features. We've talked about, I think, every single one of these before, but if you have not used, if you're an iOS user, you know that iOS 14 was a complete re-envisioning of their home screens with all of these various things. And so there you go. And, the Scribble part now makes it a lot easier to sign as well. So a lot of interesting things there as well. And then this one I think is much, much bigger, which is in Android for Zoho Desk. You can now have ticket templates, which would make your life really, really, really simple, because you can have ticket templates over in CRM. So you can now have them here and basically go ahead and quickly insert a ticket template when you create a new ticket, and away you go.
Yeah, so these are kind of nice. Basically what a ticket template is, a set of pre-filled fields on a ticket when you create it. So for example, if you have a ticket creation for when an order is canceled, maybe that gets assigned to a specific person by default. It has a certain priority by default. Maybe it goes into a specific SLA by default, right? So you can kind of set up what the default view of an order canceled ticket would be, and then just create that and fill in any, custom information for it. So definitely nice to have on mobile, as you want to spend even less time typing in fields when you're working on the phone.
And that brings us to our implementation of the week. What do we have? What do you have this week, Tyler?
Yes, this was a pretty cool one here, tying Zoho CRM into Zoho subscriptions. Basically creating a custom Zoho subscription sign up link based on some information that was quoted via the deal. So basically we had a request for a client where, really their subscriptions are priced based on the add-ons, right? So there's no real base price to a sign up. You're really priced based on specific products that you want to add on, kind of in an a la carte fashion, right? So I want this and this, I want these 3, I want these 4. And then that generates the price of the subscription. So it was kind of a fun one. What we did is we basically created a module in the CRM where we stored all of the different add-on options that you may have, right? So, for this case, there are about 40 different add-ons that could be sold to define the pricing and the product that would be included in the subscription. Then we created a subform in the deals module that has a lookup field over to that add-on table, right? So that as a sales rep's working on this, they're filling in the subform, the price of each add-on is pulling in so they can see that on the fly. They're able to roll up a total to kind of give that customer a quote. It actually also then creates a quote document that we run through mail merge. They send that out for signature, right? Kind of the standard flow there. But then the cool part is that once you mark the deal as closed won, we actually read that subform list of all the different add-ons, and we're able to create a subscription link that has all of those add-ons pre-filled. So basically, you've got a couple options. You define the billing frequency, semi-annual or annual. And then, once you click close won, it's going to just create that subscriptions link. It's going to add all of the add-ons to it dynamically. And then we're able to send that directly out to the customer. So, this resolved a pretty big pain point for them. They had hundreds of different subscriptions in the system, just so many different plans, because people could purchase any which thing. And then they wanted the ability to send them an easy link, right? Where they wouldn't have to go in and add their own add-ons and do all this labor, right? So they just ended up with so many different versions of these subscriptions, which we're really now just consolidating down to 3. So they have a plan for quarterly, a plan for semi-annual, and then a plan for annual. And then via the deal, all the different add-ons and pricing is just handled dynamically. So it's a really, really cool one. I think there's a lot to this. Really we've bumped into it a couple times, where the pricing of a subscription just really is add-on driven, and you have all these different options or services that someone could subscribe to. And this is just an easy way to give the sales rep a place to actually build that quote. Because if they're going to have to build it in subscriptions, it's out of their general flow. This was a client who already had excellent adoption. Everyone's living in deals, right? And every potential sales going in there already, they just didn't have a way to actually quote these out in a way that was seamless and would actually integrate into subscriptions. So overall, is a real cool one that Josh built out here.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where we see it a lot, where the subscription, people have subscriptions, but they don't really fit the subscription model. And they don't really fit the recurring invoicing model and all of these different things where, or yeah, it's a subscription, but it's only for 5 months, right? Or it's only for 5 payments, or it's all these different kind of things. And it is a great workaround. And it's nice to get the detail into that subscription as well. Yep. I think that was key to this.
Yeah, and it's a big one that solves for that a la carte model. Because we've seen that a couple times recently where, you don't just have, silver, gold, platinum. You have a subscription that is completely dependent on what they actually want to sign up for and what they want to buy. You could also look at doing this for like a user count. If you had a $0 subscription where each user costed a certain amount, you could set up that user as an add-on and do kind of a similar workflow here. So there's a lot of potential with this in terms of, dynamically creating those subscriptions based on deal activity. Kind of completes the loop in a way.
It really does. Great stuff. All right, we'll move over to what's new on Zenatta.com, and we got some good stuff. A great article on getting acquainted with Zoho Sheet, which is, if you're unfamiliar, is Zoho's spreadsheet tool. I learned things that our team wrote about this. I had no idea that it supported Visual Basic macros, but it turns out it does. And some Zia features, but it's a pretty detailed, some of the more powerful under the sheets, I guess, kind of thing you can find in Zoho Sheets. Pretty good stuff. And then we've also got a couple documents we found as in our continued quest to find every single PDF that Zoho has ever put out or anybody has ever put out that we can link back to. This one is on Zoho campaign workflow automations, and then one on reorient your recruiting game plan. This is put out by the Zoho recruit team and has some fairly nice stuff around how you should think about hiring, what you should do in hiring. We don't talk about it enough, but Zoho really does put out some really neat guides that really don't have anything to do with their products, but it's like, well, if you're in business, here are some basic things you need to think about, right? I mean, they tie back in at the end of the day, but this is a good one and well done. So kind of kudos to the Zoho team for doing that. All right, and that brings us to our application of the week. This is Tockify. Tyler, you and I are always making fun of the ones that end in Fi or Lee or whatever, but you've got what Calendly, and it just goes on and on and on. It seems every one of these new companies has to come up with something, I guess, because they're looking for that 7-letter .com. But we found this because if on our CRM Zen show site, we're actually doing kind of a big old calendar, and it's shop, and we actually built the CRM Zen show on a Shopify site. And while Shopify is interesting, it does not have very good, it doesn't have a lot of very useful plugins and things like that. So here you could just do a straight embed, and it looks beautiful. And we looked at a whole bunch of these for embedding calendars. And I have to say, the Tockify was really just great because it has Google Calendar synchronization. It allows you to do recurring events. So you can have community submitted events. If a person's in event, it's automatically got the social share buttons there. So you can just go ahead and share it with anybody else. It's got RSVPing. It's got iCalendar support. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. Really nice integration with WordPress, but I think we made the integration work pretty decently using an iframe inside of Shopify. But I just like this. You got you can do pin boards and agendas, and you can have a monthly look, and you can kind of change the overall look and feel. But it's a nice application, kind of something different we don't usually talk about, but one I thought I would throw out there.
Yeah, and it's definitely working well for our events calendar over there. So we thought we'd kind of share it out if anyone else has a similar need.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, and then our tip and trick of the week. I'm pulling this one again. I've been on the road for the last 2 weeks. We've talked about that. I'm actually in Clearwater Beach, Florida right now, but I'm heading home tomorrow. And so I haven't had a lot of time to kind of record the video tips and kind of running around. So I've been kind of scourging the forums for some cool stuff from Zoho. And one of the things I've noticed on this is they are doing video tips really well now. This one is on understanding the basics of team folders, and this is inside WorkDrive. But one of the nice things about it is if you actually look at the overall the video when it comes out, they're really just using kind of music and words, and they're driving you through the whole thing. So it's just really kind of clearly done. And I've noticed this on a few of their other videos that they're doing right now. And this is a big change. Before they were kind of narrated videos, and they seem to not be very professionally done, but they really stepped up their game, and they've done kind of a nice job in building these little tutorial videos out. So I really want to give them some credit. And this is a nice one. I mean, WorkDrive better and better. It's got a lot of powerful features, and they're doing their best to kind of get that out there.
Yeah, I think this is one that, it's an excellent application. I mean, you just get an insane amount of storage, and, More and more we see that there's really just no functional advantage of using a Google Drive or a OneDrive. I mean, they've pretty much checked all the boxes and then some, over in WorkDrive.
And that is a wrap, boys and girls. If you got any questions or comments, you can send them to us over at info@zenatta.com, or just head over to zenatta.com or crmzen.com and click on drop us a line.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. So as you can follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.